The exit polls got it wrong. Yes, again. There was a dramatic twist in the Haryana result, in particular, where there has been a huge setback to the Congress that was certain of victory. The BJP is all set to form the government for a third consecutive term in Haryana, creating all sorts of implications for the upcoming assembly elections, as well as the debate around quote unquote brand Modi. I'm Barkha Dutt. You're with the Mojo story. From Jammu and Kashmir came good news for the opposition, where the National Conference's Omar Abdullah is all set to be the next chief minister of the state. But all eyes were in Haryana, even as the news was coming from Jammu and Kashmir of an NC Congress government. It was a it was an unexpected twist. Every exit poll had forecast a win for the Congress in Haryana. But as the numbers were counted, and many of them were very close contests, controversy came as well. At one point, in Haryana, Jairam Ramesh of the Congress complained about the election commission and accused the EC of coming under pressure, accused the EC of counting slowly and also uploading results slowly. At the end of the day, while Bhupinder Huda was still promising to score the final goal, and he's now moments ago conceded defeat, many are saying the Congress scored an own goal in Haryana. There's a lot to talk about. A victory for the National Conference and the Congress in the first historic elections in Jammu and Kashmir in 10 years, and a twist in the Haryana tale that has massive implications for North India and the Hindi-speaking states in particular. I want to introduce our guests on the program today. We're joined by Gautam Syed, who's, of course, Congress spokesperson, National Congress spokesperson. Welcome, Gautam. Sandeep Ghosh, political analyst, supporter of the Prime Minister, but not always of the BJP, is with us. Welcome, Sandeep. We're also joined by Editorial Director of Swarajya, R. Jagannathan, better known as Jaggi, on social media, and to his friends. Good to see you, Jaggi. And Sanjay Jha, a suspended Congress spokesperson, mostly a supporter of his party, sometimes a critic. He has a piece out minutes ago talking about what he's calling the Congress's own goal. Let's start straight away. I'm also seeing Dr. Dhirinder Tyal of the BJP. Namaskar, Dr. Tyal. Dr. Tyal had warned me early in the morning when the postal ballots suggested a very comfortable win for the Congress. Ki abhi ruko, picture baki hai. And here we are, Dr. Tyal, leaving you with many gloating laughs, as you called them in the morning. I want to start with Sanjay because I know he has to scamper off very quickly. Sanjay, the numbers are here. Bhupinder Huda has finally conceded defeat, but Jairam Ramesh has held a press conference saying the Congress does not accept this result. All very confusing, the sounds coming from the party support. You have called it an own goal. What went wrong for the Congress?
Barkha, in short, I think the Congress has been setting the narrative and probably getting carried away by the conversation around the elections. And tragically, it happened in Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh not so long ago. And in fact, even in Punjab, where they basically made a disaster of what should have been a certain victory. I think not learning from your mistakes is going to be a warning for the Congress party here. I have been with the Congress for a long time, and I have always felt that we were never good at the last mile, the finish, the last mile, getting the voter out, the management of the booth, making sure that people who support you are actually at the EVM buttons. And I think that is one problem that the Congress will have to solve, because here was an election where there were issues. And the fact that even the BJP recognized it was pretty obvious when they removed the chief minister after 9.5 years. So clearly the writing was on the wall for the BJP. I think the Congress has not converted that advantage. And one of them is also the fact that a couple of weeks ago, even before the voting had happened and the campaign was picking up speed, once again, it became a very complacent conversation about who is going to be the chief minister. Mr. Huda, Kumari Selja, you had talk about Randeep Singh Surjewala. I think, the electorate today is a lot more smarter and sophisticated than we give them credit for. And while I'm a critic of the BJP, and I will constantly oppose their ideology, I have always maintained it. I've said it on your program. The BJP's hunger to win, the BJP's ability to work the engines, work the machines till the last minute. But that's what
Mm.
elections are all about. And I feel the Congress has really blown away an opportunity. And I'm worried because there will be a repercussion of this for the morale and the confidence of the alliance in Maharashtra, especially the Congress, which did well in the Lok Sabha. And I hope they temper down their ego and begin to work together with Uddhav and with Sharad Pawar's NCP, and even for Jharkhand. So I think there will be repercussions, and I think the BJP has every reason to feel very emboldened. So I go back to the drawing board and tell you, Barkha, I'm sure I've written that in my article today, that the Congress needs to learn its lessons quickly. Having said that, let's not forget that even in Jammu and Kashmir, the BJP equally has been chastised. After all
Mm.
the hype and hoopla over Article 370, the BJP hasn't really been very good even in Jammu. Forget Kashmir. So I think lessons for both the national parties. But as far as the Congress is concerned, I think it has definitely gone on a kamikaze mission.
A kamikaze mission is a strong phrase to use, and I'll get reactions starting with Dr. Tayal. But Sanjay, because I know we have you only for a few more minutes, just one or two more questions. Yogendra Yadav, who was thinking a possible defeat for the Congress, I beg your pardon, for the BJP in Haryana to a diminishing brand Modi, came on our show today and he said, "I was wrong. I got it wrong. I failed to read the undercurrent." And the voter, perhaps of Haryana, was worried about the domination of one family, one caste. He was obviously referring to the Hoodas. Kumari Sailaja has expressed her disquiet in public. She declared herself to be a contender for chief minister. Today, she has said those responsible for this must take accountability. My question is, was that the self goal, over depending on who does? What was it? You haven't defined the self goal.
Well, I think there is no denying that the Congress party felt that even in the last assembly election, had the Hoodas had more time, they would have possibly upset the apple cart because don't forget, surprisingly, the Congress got 31 seats in the last assembly election. So this time, the Hoodas had a very strong message for the Congress leadership. You goofed up last time. Now give it to us and we will take you past the finish line. And therefore, the leadership was completely dependent on the Hoodas. That's absolutely right. But I also want to make a point here that too much is being made of this Jat issue because the Jats have always been a significant factor in Haryana elections, and yet you have had the Jat, chief ministers. You have yet had Congress in government. So the question of this whole now non-Jat uh, consolidation being done by the BJP is not a unique experiment. I mean, any political party has to manage these contradictions and competitive nature of the caste politics in Haryana. I believe the
Mhm.
Congress had the issues, whether it was, what they called as the Jawan, Kisan, Pehelwan, and Samvidhan, etc. That's all fine. I just believe the issues were not the problem. The problem was that the Congress had to recognize that you were up against a formidable foe that was working quietly, is not going to walk away from a contest. And secondly, the Congress never gets its act together in terms of delivery at the last line. And I think that arrogance, that overconfidence, "Kaun banega Mukhyamantri," it diverts attention of everybody from the campaign. And I think the Congress has paid a price for that.
And the kamikaze mission that you say, that's like a death wish. What was the death wish specifically in Haryana?
I feel in both Haryana as well as I would say Jammu in particular. I think the Congress leadership, and I would mention both Priyanka and Rahul here. They're now seasoned. They've done well. It's not that they have gone through. They've had successes. That you got to realize that post the Lok Sabha, the Congress winning both these states was critical because you got Haryana, you got Maharashtra, very very important coming up next month.
Hmm.
You got Jharkhand, you got Delhi, and this could completely change the game if the opposition had won all. And I would have been more aggressive in Jammu. I was surprised that the Gandhis were spending not enough time in Jammu or just kind of investing significant resources in terms of presence and campaigning, because what else are you supposed to do anyways? And not just the Gandhis, you should have put the whole team out there. I really feel that that appetite or the belief that we need to work very hard to get it is still missing somewhere, because you're not dealing with an ordinary rival in the BJP. And I think maybe there is still is a learning. If the Congress learns quickly, I think Maharashtra is up for grabs. But I have written in my article, if the Congress doesn't at the moment quickly coalesce around Uddhav Thackeray as the chief minister candidate, I can tell you Maharashtra will again be problematic. And the BJP, I can tell you, even today, is working very hard despite all the negativism you are hearing about Ajit Pawar, etc.
Okay, before we let you go, Sandeep Ghosh, on a light-hearted note, texted me to say you should call Sanjay, that is you, suspended but animated Congress supporter. So suspended animation requires a whole different meaning with you. So that's a good one. I couldn't resist quoting that. But on the note of Priyanka and Rahul not campaigning in Jammu, Omar Abdullah said it on record. He said it to me. He said it to the cameras. He said the Congress hasn't pulled its weight in Jammu and Kashmir. And if you look at the breakup in J&K, the Congress has picked up 6 seats, right? So this is essentially a national conference victory for the large part in Jammu and Kashmir. Sanjay Jha, would you concede that?
Absolutely, which is disaster, because even in the last election, if I'm getting the numbers right, the Congress was either 12 or 13, and that was in 2014. There is no excuse for this at all. I think the Congress's inability to kind of recognize or be cognizant of the opportunities. An election is an opportunity. It's a referendum for a political party to make a statement. And the absence of understanding the importance of the election is so elementary, still beats me, Barkha.
All right, Sanjay, we're going to let you go. I'm going to open this up now. Sanjay Jha there saying that the Congress, thanks Sanjay, has scored a self-goal in Haryana. It's on a kamikaze mission. It's been complacent. It over-relied on the Hudas. Priyanka and Rahul did not pull their weight. In Jammu, this is coming from a Congress supporter, Dr. Tyal. I feel he's left nothing for you to criticize the Congress for because he kind of listed them all out. But let's get your responses. I know we have you for a short time as well. Dr. Tyal, go ahead.
No, so he also said that BJP will never be found wanting. So he certainly hasn't done it all. There is more to come. So rest assured. Okay. So 3 things from very, very diverse spheres I want to say on this today. One is where you said that they are, kind of whining about why they lost and,
Actually, Jairam Ramesh said we do not accept this result. So Bhupinder Huda has conceded defeat. I'm going to play out both statements, but let's get your statement first.
So, somebody I was reading somewhere, and somebody's calling this the Trump virus, which is now gone all over the world, that people are refusing to accept the results. Accept it. It's happened. It's happened. And go back to the drawing board. So what? That is one. So that is one area. The second area, I think, fundamentally, the where the fault lies, I think that I would say comes from Gita, where you say karmaneva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. So don't look at the results. Today, what is happening is there is a certain amount of desperation in Congress for relevance to stay somewhere, get some results any which way. So the process, karma is not happening, and that is where everything is going wrong. They think, we're going to just get out there and do it. And that is where I'm bringing in the third absolutely diverse area, which is from the corporate world, that your product promotion can only take you so far. The product has to be there. You're not putting anything into the product. It is all about showbiz. It is all about promotion. How much of promotion am I doing?
But if you look at the vote share, the two parties are neck and neck. It's the BJP converted the vote share into seats much better in Haryana than the Congress did. A lot of contests went down to Kubaya, but even so, the exit polls were totally wrong because they did not forecast such a tight fight on the ground. Now, Dr. Tyal is calling it or quoting social media and saying the Trump virus, which is the inability to accept a hard-fought election, is spreading. This is what Jairam Ramesh said. I'm going to play that out and then come to Gautam of the Congress party to respond to it. Take a look.
The writing on the wall was very, very clear to anybody who was willing to read the writing on the wall. But, there are people who are experts in replacing walls. They just replace the wall.
Or machines.
In this case, machine. So I have already explained, I don't think you were there when I was explaining, that as far as the results are concerned, Haryana result, our first priority is to collate, consolidate all the complaints that have come from candidates from the 3 districts today. There will be other complaints and we hope to submit this to the Election Commission tomorrow evening or day after. That is our immediate priority. Simultaneously, of course, we will sit and introspect why the result went the way it did. It was everybody's expectation that the Congress would win comfortably in Haryana. I think all I can say is that the Congress has been made to lose. Congress has not lost. Congress has been made to lose in Haryana. And you have not heard the last of the Haryana.
Now, this is a very big statement. I don't remember another time where, after an election, one of the beauties of our democracy has always been the very peaceful acceptance of losses and defeats. Let me just take that banner. The Congress has been made to lose. We haven't lost. I want to open this up now. Dr. Tyal, one quick word. I want to go to the Congress spokesperson. Dr. Tyal?
Yeah, because I would be leaving after that.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So, suddenly once again we are back to good EVMs and bad EVMs, because he said yes, machines, in this case machines have been, when he said replace the wall, machines. So we have the good EVMs in JNK, the bad ones came to Haryana, but they need to, he was, I think where I agree with him is where he said that we have to introspect and see, where are they even in JNK? Nowhere. 6 seats for Congress in JNK is nowhere. That is what people expected Rashid to get.
And ironically, only one of them is from the Jammu region, if I look at the region-wise breakup. Yeah.
So,
okay, Dr. Tyal. Yeah. Sorry,
so,
I know you have to go as long as you can, but yeah, complete your thought.
So
Sorry.
all that I'm saying is that when he's saying everybody knew, last time we were, BJP was expected to get 50% more seats. The poll of polls said 61 seats to BJP, we got 40, but after that we didn't cry about it, that okay, where did these 21 seats go? That is the way it is. That is the way it is. We accept it. So it is time, they accept the facts as they are. So that is my say.
Okay, we'll let you go. Thank you for your acerbic and quick comments. Gautam, I'm sorry to keep you waiting. Let's bring you in. What does Jairam Ramesh mean by saying we did not lose, we were made to lose? This is a big statement, and I cannot remember in recent memory in an Indian election where a party has effectively said this is not a free and fair election. Because if you decode it, that's what it means, right? Like, what is the other way to read we did not lose, we were made to lose? Or am I misinterpreting it? Gautam?
Right, Barkha. So what I like to put very categorically clear here is that, of course, there were internal surveys done by the party. Of course, there were inputs that the party was getting from the control rooms, that the party had set up in different districts. Despite of that, despite of the feedbacks, and despite of a very strong sense of feeling that the workers of the party conveyed, on ground, there was this writing on the wall that the Congress is going to form the government in Haryana. And he's not talking about the entire election. If you go to that press conference and see it as a whole, they're talking about 3 districts in particular from where the candidates have given us complaints in AICC. And they say that there were EVMs which were having battery percentages up to 90 to 99%, which is actually not possible. And EVMs with a battery percentage below 60% is where the Congress was winning easily. But EVMs which were fresh and having a battery percentage above 90% were the seats where we were losing from thin margins. So, of course, there is this doubt, this question mark raised by the candidates themselves. And it is responsibility of the Election Commission to address the concerns of anybody, be it from the Congress, be it an independent candidate, be it from the regional party. If he or she has contested an election, he has all right to approach the Election Commission.
But Gautam, of course, that is within your rights. But the fact that it has become, or it became so tight that Haryana took all day to count, the general elections were declared quicker than clarity on Haryana. That's how tight the fights were in some of the seats with margins of 1,500, 2,000 votes. This means that your internal surveys were wrong. The exit polls were wrong because everybody was predicting an easy win for the Congress and a huge anti-incumbency against the BJP. That part was wrong, right? Irrespective.
No, indeed, we have done mistakes where we have done mistakes. We need to accept them as well. We need to do some introspection, and introspection must be done. There is no question about it. There is nobody raising a question on the entire Loktantrik setup or the democratic setup of the country. But of course, where
Yeah.
candidates have doubts, they must be resolved, and the Election Commission is duty bound to reply to these candidates to tell whether where did it go wrong, whether the election was rigged in some areas, whether the election was tactically delayed. The point that you have just raised, that the counting took much longer, was it tactically done to create pressure on the officers involved in the counting areas? Was it all Prajatantra versus Gunda Tantra, as I would like to put it here, on some seats to just create that kind of a margin? So there are these apprehensions which Mr. Jairam Ramesh has raised, and we are going to raise them with the Election Commission strongly, and it is our right. And of course, introspection will be done. The Congress has to look inside also. Did we get a little
Yeah.
overconfident, and should we have not got that overconfident? And should we have worked much more harder than we did? And in the coming polls in Maharashtra and Jharkhand, you will see that introspection will also reflect in our conduct.
Okay. So I think what I'm hearing the Congress leaders say is we're not questioning the overall electoral process. We have specific complaints from candidates in particular districts. We may have got overconfident, but that does not, preclude our right to complain about what he calls the suspiciously slow counting. I want to bring in Jaggi here. Jairam Ramesh says we've been made to lose, and Gautam has just elaborated on that. This is I don't know. I mean, I can't remember another time where basically a party has said, we don't accept this. Jaggi, how do you respond to what's happened in Haryana? And of course, we must turn our attention to J&K, because I do think that the BJP would have hoped for a different result in the valley than the one it got, if not for itself, certainly for given its relationships with the people who are going to form the government. Jaggi.
I can't see anything except to say that the Congress is a sore loser. Maybe in 2 or 3 seats there could have been some issues at a local level, but even if assuming you overturn those 3 or 4 seats, BJP will still be at 44 or 45. So my point is, like, they would have lost any case. The second thing is, I think we are not seeing the value of the silent vote which the exit polls are unable to get in many elections. We saw that in June when a lot of the silent dissent against BJP didn't surface in the exit polls. Everybody confidently said 400 power, at least they'll get 350 was the assumption. But where did they end up with? 240, right? Now, did we see the BJP crying about the EVM and how this went wrong, that went wrong? No. They had a very clear, in several areas, they lost very badly. I mean, especially UP, Maharashtra and Rajasthan and places like that. So my point is, this time the BJP has learned its lesson from the Lok Sabha elections. It has got its act together. It has got both the party and the Sangh Parivar working together this time. Last time they were, at least some of them were not working for the BJP. I mean, they said, okay, if you think you can do all things on your own, don't call me. And that's what happened. And internally, the party dynamics was very negative. So that is one reason. This time they have corrected it. In Haryana, the Sangh was working fully for the BJP. Secondly, I think there is the huge surround sound around the Jat vote and other things. My point is, the silent vote is the non-Jat vote, which is where I think there are smaller communities which do not want the Jat dominance. They did not, when the pollsters were taking things, they were not caught very well. And if you see, the pollsters not only got the seat effect wrong, they got the vote share completely wrong. They said the Congress was at least 2-3 points ahead of the BJP, in which case the Congress would have won EVM or no EVM. But what actually happened is BJP is actually ahead on the vote share. So I mean, the pollsters got it wrong because I think they didn't count the silent voters who were quietly decided how they're going to vote because of the excess of the Jat factor, or maybe the Dalits felt that, okay, what about Kumari Selja and other things.
Correct.
So factors got silent, and that is where the BJP is encashed. And I think there's no point in the Congress saying we'll do introspection, but we don't accept the result. It is stupid. You can't do this.
Yeah, I mean, you can't both introspect and kind of insinuate that the election hasn't been fully fair. Sandeep Ghosh and Chandrasukha Dogra, I want you to come in, and then we'll play out what Kumari Selja has actually said. She's been very outspoken through the campaign and even in the aftermath of this loss. And I think I agree with Jaggi that the very visible, vocal, shift in the Jat vote, the very visible senior leadership of the Hooda family, that perhaps made the pollsters ignore or not able to capture the silent non-Jat vote. Uh, Naib Singh Saini is not necessarily the most well-known, charismatic, out there kind of chief minister. Even the polls favorability on chief minister's choices show that. What's actually happened here, Sandeep? A lot was also said about the prime minister not campaigning very actively. 4 rallies in 2024 compared to 10 in 2014. What do you make of what's happened?
Um, yeah, Barkha, today is a day when you hear from both sides. We've heard Sanjay, we've heard the Congress spokesperson, BJP spokesperson. Each will have their own explanation. I think what we can do, to be honest, many of us, including me, I don't know about you, we also thought that Haryana was a lost cause. And even in J&K, I, for one, was not giving BJP any great chance in the whole thing. So we can only, in hindsight, look at a few points. Now, starting with the point about, Congress, whether it's a self-goal or not, and what Sanjay was talking. You see, Congress, Barkha, all said and done, right now is in every state, it is dependent on one or two, people who can do the heavy lifting. In Karnataka, it is Shiv Kumar. In Chhattisgarh, it is Bhupesh Baghel. So they didn't quite have a choice other than the Hudas to pull them through in Haryana. So they had to depend for more reasons than one, including the financial thing. In the process, Congress probably had this factionalism, which one heard that, Surjewala just adjourned to, I was told, Badrinath or Kedarnath somewhere during the election. He didn't come out of Kaithal. We certainly knew Kumari Selva was miffed and she was there. And then they get carried away by these kind of images of Rahul Gandhi. People say he's the new Chanakya, he is this and that, and talking of jalebi. So it's a bit of their own hubris, I think, which goes there. And I think Congress should be careful sometime of what they wish for. They keep on asking about postal ballots. On one hand, Sanjay Jha concedes that their last mile management is terrible. Just imagine if there is postal ballot, will Congress be able to do the booth management to ensure that those ballot boxes are stuffed with their ballots? So I think they need to have also a reality check out there. But the biggest story is J&K. You see,
it's interesting. It's interesting. Can I pause you there? It's interesting that you call J&K the bigger story. I know I have a J&K bias because it's been my beat as a young beat reporter. Why do you think it's the bigger story? I'm curious to.
Yeah. First of all, I think you must give, since you have been covering J&K for a long time, whether BJP has lost or not, you have to give them credit for having a free and fair election. You remember what had happened in J&K in the 80s when the elections are now officially admitted that they were rigged, and that continued in the manner. So at least whosoever is won, if there is really a victory of democracy, it is there. BJP may have not got the seats as much they would have liked, but see how their vote share has climbed, and where is Congress in that state? So the common point I was coming to, Barkha, two silent workers in both these states who got BJP back to the basics of their roots. One is Dharmendra Pradhan in Haryana, and the other is Ram Madhav in J&K. So BJP, again, the selection of these people also show BJP had learned from their mistakes in June. And that's why you have a Bhupendra Yadav working away silently in Maharashtra. And I've been saying this for a long time because I've known that gentleman, having worked in Madhya Pradesh, in Odisha, etc. So they are now getting that fundamentals right. Selection of candidates, they even moving away Khattar was tactical, and they made sure Khattar was not disenchanted, giving him a berth in the center. So Khattar didn't work against Saini or against BJP's interests there. Khattar has worked. So they managed those dynamics, I think, pretty well. Whereas Congress got carried away by the, their.
But I want to talk about one thing in J&K, and we'll come back to it in greater detail. Per Omar Abdullah, the Congress's main job was to take on the BJP in Jammu, right? The national conference was to look at the valley. The Congress has picked up one seat in Jammu, one out of its 6 overall seats. Omar has been on record to say the Congress isn't pulling its weight.
Exactly. That's precisely what I was saying. Omar said that.
Yeah.
And there was this whole disenchantment when I think Salman Khurshid and Venugopal had to even rush there to placate Omar. So Congress, everywhere in Congress and wherever there is a single battle, when they're doing it on their own, Sanjay was saying that they should support Uddhav. That's another story we have to get in there. I think that will be again suicidal for Congress in Maharashtra. If they become and they get their numbers and again they back Uddhav to become the chief minister, what is the message they're giving out over there? So I think these are the elements we need to see, Barkha. And on a separate show, you should now devote one show to discuss exit polls. Why are exit polls going so wrong? And you need to get some real statisticians, people who understand numbers, because I don't believe, any statistical thing that it is just the silent voters or this. I think there is something fundamentally wrong in which the way exit polls are being conducted nowadays. Otherwise, everybody cannot be going wrong so much. And I think that calls for a discussion.
Absolutely. I want to get Chandra Sutra in. She just vanished from the screen. Could you please bring her back? And in the meantime, I want to play out what Kumari Selja has said right in the aftermath of the shock to the Congress in Haryana. Take a look.
मैम जो रिजल्ट आया मैम, हाउ डू यू सी दिस मैम?
बहुत ज्यादा निराशा हुई है। आप सब वर्कर्स को देखिए, इतने समय से ये लगे हुए थे। ऐसे समय में जब कोई खड़ा होता नहीं नजर आता था, राहुल जी का संदेश लेकर हम गांव-गांव ठंड में, कड़ाके की ठंड में, कड़कती धूप में, सब जगह हमारे वर्कर फैले, संदेश लेकर गए, मेहनत की जमीन पर। लेकिन आज जब ऐसा नतीजा आता है, इनकी मेहनत पर, इनके पसीने पर, इनके खून पर पानी फिरा है। ये इस चीज को पार्टी को देखना पड़ेगा।
मैम जो भी चीजें हुई मैम चुनाव से पहले, लगता है आपको ये वजह रही मैम जिस तरीके से?
वी विल गो इनटू दैट लेटर।
लगता है मैम सोचना चाहिए मैम पार्टी,
बिल्कुल पार्टी सभी इंट्रोस्पेक्ट करेंगे,
क्योंकि मैम जनता देख रही थी मैम जिस तरह से आपके और तमाम मंच पे मैम सबके सामने जो एक तरीके से चीजें सामने आई मैम। शैलजा मैम लगता है आपको मैम, शैलजा मैम लगता है आपको जो चीजें सामने आई वो नहीं होनी चाहिए, क्योंकि मेहनत बहुत हो रही थी मैम।
नतीजे जो आए हैं ये होने थोड़ा ही चाहिए थे, क्यों हुए?
नहीं मैम जो चीजें हो रही थी मैम आपकी खींचतान को लेकर,
ठीक है, समय पर चुप्पी भी साधनी पड़ती।
Very telling statement. Chandra, could you hear it? And how do you look at what's happened in Haryana? Chandra, if you can hear me, do react and go ahead. You're muted at your end. I don't think she can hear me. Let me actually take this back to Jaggi and to Gautam. Gautam, I'll start with you. A lot has been said even about the Congress performance in J&K. Omar went on record to say that the Congress didn't pull its weight. Jaggi says you're being a sore loser. You can't both say that you're introspecting, but हाँ कुछ seats पे problem है. Do respond to that. Gautam.
You see, if we totally ignore the contribution of Mr. Rahul Gandhi and Bharat Jodo Yatra in reshaping the polity and the political landscape of Jammu and Kashmir, then I think we are doing a big mistake. We might have failed in terms of delivering as much as we should have delivered in Jammu, and I will do no words mixing here and totally would accept that we have failed to deliver as much as we should have. But at the same time, as an alliance partner of the National Conference, the reshaping of the political landscape and the polity of Jammu and Kashmir, Mr. Rahul Gandhi had a huge role to play in it through his Bharat Jodo Yatra, which left a lasting impact on the people of Jammu and Kashmir. And I have been hearing many top journalists, including Neerja Chaudhary and others, saying that when they were going around the Jammu region and when they were going around the Kashmir region, people had all good things to speak about Mr. Gandhi and his style of politics.
No, but Gautam, sorry, just one interjection there. This is not a debate about Rahul Gandhi's popularity. What Omar Abdullah said in his interview to me, and he also said it to others, was that the Priyanka and Rahul didn't even campaign in Jammu. They didn't do any work on the ground in Jammu, he felt. This is Omar's statement, not mine.
No, I think Ms. Priyanka Gandhi was very much there to campaign in Jammu. She had gone there to address a public rally, which is on record. Mr. Kharge wanted to go there. His flight could not take off, so he addressed it from his phone. And at that age, to be there and still be doing all of that, credits to our Congress president. But we failed to deliver as much as we should have delivered in Jammu. And that is also an organizational failure. We need to see where our organization lagged, where we were not able to take our workers out, where did we really lack to, put the whole show together, and where our leadership could not manage the election the way it should have been managed. And we are introspecting towards it. I'm not saying that we have performed extraordinarily well in the Jammu region. I'm not at all claiming that. There have been problems, there have been mistakes made, and those mistakes will be looked into. But at the same time, we should not totally forget about the contribution of Mr. Gandhi in reshaping the political landscape and polity of Jammu and Kashmir, which contributed towards the victory of this alliance in this election.
So you're saying that the Bharat Jodo Yatra, which culminated in Kashmir, had its impact on this alliance. I don't know. I think the J&K result is going to take some time to understand, because Jammu has voted one way, Kashmir has voted in a very different way. And if we could just take a look at the regional division in Jammu and Kashmir, actually, more than the Congress, the National Conference has held on to some seats in the Jammu region. So the National Conference takes 35 seats in the Kashmir region. Actually, you need to put those graphics together so we can alternate between them. And look at the National Conference. It's picking up 7 seats in Jammu. So to my mind, in many ways, this is a pure National Conference victory, I think. And Jammu, BJP is more or less held on to its regional sort of popularity. Jaggi, how do you see what's happened in Jammu and Kashmir?
Decided
Jackie, can you?
that all.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in the valley, the voter has decided that the vote needs to be consolidated to keep the BJP out. So the BJP was hoping that some of the smaller parties will lead into the vote, and that PDP and National Conference will cancel each other out in many constituencies. And if they get a few votes there, and if they max their votes in Jammu, they'll somewhere be the kingmakers, if not the king. But that didn't work out. So Valley decided probably to consolidate in one direction, and that happened to be the National Congress. As far as Jammu is concerned, the reverse has happened. In fact, the Congress, after winning 6 seats, there is not a single Hindu candidate in the Congress. So I think Omar Abdullah is right to say that you haven't got what you're supposed to do. But I think the message from Jammu is very clear, that the Hindu vote is not in favor of the National Conference, or for that matter, the Valley vote is being rejected by that. I think 370 is probably accepted as an issue in Valley, but in Jammu it has been comprehensively rejected.
I just want to see if Chandar can hear me now. Chandar, can you hear me? If you can, please go ahead with your take.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. So just want to make this point that till about a month ago, the Congress had everything going for it in Haryana, and it appeared, there was this Jat resurgence, and they were very upbeat, etc. But about a month ago, things started to change, mainly because in many places, I mean, this is the feedback which came up to Chandigarh, filtering through the lawyers and in the High Court and elsewhere. When litigants came, they said, "Oh, we have been anti-BJP for the last couple of years because they were unhappy with the governance, were unhappy with a lot of things which the BJP was doing, but they became fearful of the Jats flexing their muscles. They had already begun to threaten them कि हमारा राज आने वाला है, तब देख लेंगे." That kind of language was heard in the rural, semi-rural areas of Haryana, which actually scared off, the non-Jat voters, which is the Brahmins, the Banyas, the Punjabi Khatri community. So all that, I mean, for the Congress, everything going for it, but just because they became so confident, overconfident, they became even arrogant. I'm not talking here about just the politicians. The politicians, of course, probably must have conducted themselves with a little more discretion, but I'm talking about the ordinary Jats in the towns and villages. They began to tell the non-Jat counterparts that, look, now our community is going to dominate the political landscape, so you guys better watch out. And that is what the BJP has capitalized on. There was this subterranean thread running throughout the election campaign, which of course, I was just talking to a jeweler in Ambala this morning, trying to figure out what is it. So he says कि सब चुप थे, कोई कुछ बोलना नहीं चाहता था, because we were fearful that the Jat anger would fall on us, and also why unnecessarily stick your neck out and say we are voting for BJP or for whichever other party. But he says this is true of the rest of Haryana, the non-Jats particularly. They did not, and which is why I think the exit polls also got it wrong, because the exit polls, I think, went and spoke mainly to the Jat voters, who in any case, since it's a dominant community, besides being dominant, they are highly vocal, very aggressive. So they dominated the decibel levels during the election campaign. You could see that. And the non-Jat preferred to keep quiet, do his own thing quietly. And this whole thing changed within the last 1 month, like I told you. The other thing, uh, which a lot of others have also made the point, that the Dalits were generally supposed to be going with the Congress, but firstly because Kumari Selja was alienated, she sat at home for 13 days, she did not campaign, and that sent a signal to her supporters that if and she's, well, you have to agree, she's one of the tallest Dalit leaders in Haryana today, and also she had thrown in her hat for the chief minister's post. So if she can be treated so badly, I think she was just given about 9 seats, which she had a say in the ticket distribution, and about 80% of the ticket distribution was done by Bhupender Singh Hooda, and his camp were gloating over this fact. And being the chief minister earlier for 2 tenures, people in Haryana knew what to expect, that if this guy or this family comes to power again, what is going to happen. So here the Congress miscalculated very badly. They gave him too many seats to decide, which the subsequent gloating by his camp created a problem for the party, which the leadership should have seen what's happening. The other leaders, the other Congress leaders in Haryana, they kind of came out looking like dwarves in front of
Yeah.
Bhupender Singh Hooda.
So basically, the domination of one family and one caste. Gautam, I want you to respond to that, and then I want to come back actually on what this means for politics going into the assembly elections. Do go ahead, Gautam.
Yeah, so basically, a united Congress fought the 2024 elections, and that united Congress came out with high numbers, with flying colors, and the result of 2024 elections spoke for itself. But when you talk about what happened in Haryana, I believe we should have been more united, and the efforts towards that should have been a little more than they were. Of course, from the central leadership, I do not think there was any stone left unturned. But from the state leadership also, it should have been thought that the the party's betterment should be kept first, and we should fight this unitedly. And somewhere or the other, not being very visibly united also costed us a bit. But whether, again, those 10, 12 seats on which we have received complaints from the candidates, what the election commission responds to that, is the complaint being given by the candidate actually realistic, and is actually rigging happening on ground, and how are they going to satisfy these candidates who have contested with their blood, sweat, toil and tear on those seats? So they will have to respond to it, and then we can come to a conclusion and start analyzing about what happened. But yes, firmly, personally, I am a believer that a united Congress always makes wonders, and we need to do more efforts to make sure that the party goes to elections in a much, much more united manner.
Now, I want to talk a little bit forward-looking. Sandeep, if there are lessons for the Congress, the point has been made about hubris, lack of unity. What are the lessons for the BJP? Because these are elections coming right after the Lok Sabha elections. Mr. Modi is right now running a coalition government. He's leading a coalition government. There are all sorts of issues that come with that. Remember that lateral entry directive that the Prime Minister himself had to take back because an ally, Chirag Paswan, raised an objection, and there was anxiety in the BJP that the Dalit community could make an issue out of this. What do you think the BJP might be needing to take in after these two state elections?
See, I'll take half a minute, Barkha, before that, since Jammu and Kashmir is your first love, to say what I think about Congress. One, I could be wrong. I think something even I was overlooking is the negative impact of Ghulam Nabi Azad. Ghulam Nabi Azad going out could have costed them that Jammu belt a bit. Because see, Congress, what was happening, you know again better. I think there was an element of Congress where Congress in J&K was also seen some kind of a local party. It had lot more local recognition as being also a Kashmiri party than, let's say, in comparison to a BJP, etc. But now Congress lost that identity. And people said if we have to go with the Kashmiri party, it is basically NC is a far better bet than going to a second or a pretender party, because Congress is no longer that equity it seemed to have lost. That's my one two-penny contribution. Now, BJP, the good part is, Barkha, one is the problem of BJP was all of you say that 240 is not a bad number. 240 is higher than a lot of UPA government. But BJP has been behaving in a defeated manner, as they say, in terms of body language, etc. At 240, they are behaving as if they have lost the election, whereas Congress at 99 has been behaving as if they have formed the government. Just like, Jairam Ramesh even now is saying that we didn't lose the election, we were made to lose or whatever. That's the kind of attitude, that's the converse. Now, BJP's problem, I don't think, is so much about the allies. Of course, they have to learn to manage allies, which I think we have discussed this in your program. Narendra Modi also knows how to calibrate his style, so he will do that. BJP has got other larger issues, and some of it I think is geopolitical and outside. But BJP seems to have learned this thing, and as somebody was saying, BJP realizes that winning elections is his job. So if for that it needs to reinvent its act or go back to the basics, swallow egos and everything else and do things, that is it. But they have a lot of fixing to do, especially in Maharashtra, because Maharashtra is in a royal mess. Haryana is ultimately a smaller place. There are not too many players, elements. You didn't have that sort of people being inducted. There is too many dynamics in Maharashtra. That is a much more difficult thing to do. But BJP I think, also learned, therefore, if you see these 3 months, they're keeping their head down. The fact that Mr. Modi has not gone overboard in his campaigning, or they didn't make any major tall claims at this juncture, all these things show that, they have been, to some extent sobered down. They've taken those lessons, and although we may not see it from a distance, there is some amount of real introspection even happening there. Because Mr. Modi ultimately knows that he has to deliver the numbers to be respected. Ultimately, what was his calling?
But I want to pick up this point. I want to pick up this point that you made, that Mr. Modi is keeping his head down. Jaggi, when the Prime Minister did not really become the frontline face in Haryana, a lot of people pointed out that he addressed only 4 rallies compared to the 10 he did in 2014. And the interpretation was, he knew BJP was not going to do well, so he was keeping away. So something very interesting has happened. Omar Abdullah called this in an interview to me his toughest election. He didn't probably think that these numbers were going to come. The BJP probably didn't think that they were going to win. In both cases, not just the exit polls, I think the politicians themselves couldn't necessarily read the electorate. But do you agree with Sandeep that the Prime Minister and the BJP leadership was keeping its head down? Or do you believe that Mr. Modi was staying away because they thought this was a state they were going to lose? And the second question is the RSS. It's widely believed that in pockets of Uttar Pradesh, the RSS, some party workers were disgruntled. That was part of the reason for the BJP defeat. And it's widely reported that the RSS was on the ground in Haryana. Let's talk about that as well. Jaggi.
One is, I think
I
the
don't judge you.
PM had
Yeah,
to play a lower
yeah.
role this time, largely because whenever he makes a campaign about him, double engine, all those things, then the opposition to him also gets a little, what do you call, say, I must go and vote and do my things. I mean, especially the minorities, other things, right? By keeping his campaign a little low key, he prevented this kind of excessive consolidation against him, which could have happened. Let's say more minority candidates, more some other groups might have come in. Though, of course, Haryana doesn't have that kind of large minority groups, unlike UP or some other places. But I think keeping it low profile helped him prevent, say, excessive fallout in case it did badly. And it also helped the local campaign to remain local and focus on local issues, which the RSS and others were able to consolidate and do that. So my guess is it is a good strategy to follow. Even say in Jharkhand, I think they seem to be doing fairly well. Maharashtra is a mess, but I think they have a month to fix the problems. And if they keep their head down, they will not do too badly. I think the joker there is actually Ajit Pawar, because unless he delivers his part of the bargain and having three people, I mean, three cooks in the kitchen is not going to help them. So I think it would have been simpler if they had just two, because the BJP actually will have to sacrifice some of its seats in order to accommodate the third player. So it's going to be tougher in Maharashtra. But I think BJP is actually still going to be the largest party in Maharashtra. I mean, even after the election, it's not going to be any other party.
You believe the BJP will be the single largest party in Maharashtra?
Yeah, single largest in terms of number of seats and vote shares. What might happen is the allies might not do so well because there are too many guys have to be accommodated in seats. The BJP itself is pretty strong in Maharashtra. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, but the BJP has a lot of ideological confusion in Maharashtra. Taking in Ajit Pawar, you just mentioned him, the Prime Minister himself accusing him of massive corruption, and then him being in the fold. Those are contradictions that I think a lot has been spoken about that even in the Lok Sabha. I want to just bring in this question of what happens to the 370 debate now, and the reason I'm raising this is easily the most far-reaching decision, whether you're on this side or this side of it, has been the abrogation of 370 by the Modi government in the last few years. Now, with the Supreme Court also having kind of shut the door on it, is that the final sort of resolution, or will an emboldened Omar Abdullah raise it again? Now, I asked Omar Abdullah about whether he wanted to be chief minister. It's very interesting. He wasn't going to contest this election. He finally contested it from 2 assemblies. And look at what he says about 370. Take a look.
You said that once you commit to something, you put everything of yourself. So you went from being skeptical about contesting, and now that you're in it, you're contesting from 2 seats. Is your ambition to be chief minister again, even though this is not the assembly that you would have wanted?
I have no such ambitions. I don't
Why
know.
not?
I don't. I mean, I've been chief minister of Jammu and Kashmir prior to 5th August 2019.
Yes. In a more empowered assembly.
This is a very different assembly. So, look, it is not my ambition. That said, I don't know what my destiny has in store for me. I don't even know what 8th of October has in store for us.
But what would you choose for yourself if you could choose?
I would choose to turn back the clock to prior 5th August 2019, write off all this nonsense that we've had to go through and start from there. But I don't get to choose that.
So, and later in the interview, I said the Supreme Court, and he said, well, the Supreme Court has often reviewed its own decisions. Now, I'm not saying that, he unilaterally has the power to change the discourse on that, but Gotham as an alliance partner, the Congress is going to have to take a position on this. And it's not very clear what the Congress position is on the abrogation. Is that something you're still working out?
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. So basically, as said by Jairam Rameshji also, that this is an alliance which is forming the government. Every party has its own manifesto. But at the end of it, we prepare a common minimum program. And right now, the priority for both the NC and the Congress is, number one, to restore the full statehood status to Jammu and Kashmir. And number two, to ensure that this democratically elected government of Jammu and Kashmir which has the will of the people, has all the powers vested in the Constitution of India, and they can operate towards the welfare of the people in that direction. So, for all other things, a common minimum program has to be prepared, and that will be dealt with later. But right now, the priorities are two. Number one, restoring the full statehood. Number two, making sure that this government, made by the will of the people, has all the powers that the Constitution gives it. So that is where the priority is. And the common minimum program on which the government will work will be out for you to see so.
Okay, we're expecting the Prime Minister to be speaking shortly. Let's try and get in some comments before that happens. You know, okay, I'm being told he'll speak at 8, so we have some time. Let's get in some comments. Chandar, you spoke about the sort of the sense that the Jats were dominating. How do you see this having a ripple impact, let's say, on Punjab, or not really? The politics are very different.
Certainly. Punjab actually is going through a lot of problems of its own, mainly in terms of Sikh politics. So I don't think the Jats really matter so much, even though the Jat Sikhs and all, they have a common kind of ethnicity of sorts. But Punjab is a different ball game altogether, because the Akali party is in deep decline, and Sikh politics is also in a churn, where you are having the radical elements, or the so-called extremist thought is gaining strength. Although that really doesn't mean that people are asking for Khalistan and all that. It's not as simple. It's just that Sikhi, that is, people want their Sikh issues. They want a party which stands up for the Sikhs, and that space is vacant. The Akalis have virtually abdicated. They are into other things. No other party is filling that gap. So the Sikh vote as such is rudderless, and that is where the problem lies in Punjab. And on the other hand, there is the Aam Aadmi Party, which is really not doesn't seem to be in control. There are new things happening every other day. They don't have a great talent pool from amongst their legislators. So I mean, there's this continuous musical chairs being happening.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you, but as we wait for the Prime Minister to speak, I just want to read out some of his comments. On J&K in particular, the Prime Minister says these elections in Jammu and Kashmir have been very special. They were held for the first time after the removal of 370 and 35A. They witnessed a high turnout, showing the people's belief in democracy. I compliment each and every person of Jammu and Kashmir. I'm proud of the BJP's performance in J&K. I thank all those who have voted for our party and placed their trust. I assure the people we will keep working for the welfare of Jammu and Kashmir. I also appreciate the industrious efforts of our Karyakarta. I would like to compliment the Jammu and Kashmir National Conference for their commendable performance in the J&K Assembly elections. So these are the comments we have from the Prime Minister. I'm not sure yet if is it a comment in Haryana? Could you confirm or not yet? I need a confirmation. Playing. Okay. Okay, it's in Hindi. I should try and read it out. I'll get it up on the screen. So let me get last comments now. Jaggi, I'll start with you. The one big takeaway for both the Congress and the BJP. Jaggi.
I think the Congress needs to be clear that it has to work till the last minute, till the last mile. I think the assumption that, okay, the mahal is good, so we'll somehow deliver the results is wrong, because whenever one group consolidates, there is usually a counter consolidation in some other group. This happens in UP, where if the Yadavs talk too much, the non-Yadav groups tend to vote in the other way. If one Muslims vote in some way, Hindus vote in some other way. So those things happen. The Congress has to be careful about how it articulates its own desires. Second thing is, there are implications for future two next things. In fact, right up to Delhi, actually, Aam Aadmi Party seems to be in disarray. They got 1.5% in Haryana. And in Punjab, in Lok Sabha, they did pretty badly relative to the Congress. So I think even the Delhi Aam Aadmi Party should be worried about whether they'll actually win, because if the BJP is on the up and it can do so without having a very charismatic chief ministerial candidate, Delhi could be up for grabs next. So they have to be worried. And Maharashtra and Jharkhand are the big tests for BJP and Congress, both of them. Of course, you have the JMM also.
That's very interesting, because the one thing, Chandar, that we didn't speak about is what would have happened if the AAP and Congress would have actually managed an alliance in Haryana. Would anything actually be different, you think, Chandar?
I really don't think so, because the AAP doesn't have much of a base in Haryana. They don't have a grassroots structure. So I mean, I doubt if, I mean, maybe a percentage here or there, that's about it. Doesn't their candidates, and they didn't even have any great talking points in the campaign as such. I also want to make another point about the AAP. A lot of speakers are talking about EVMs, and the Congress spokesperson said that they were rigged and all that. Let me just take you back to 2017 elections in Punjab, when the Aam Aadmi Party lost. It had everything going for it, and all the pollsters also said that AAP is going to win. And there was this sudden upset on D-Day when the results were announced, and the Aam Aadmi Party also made similar allegations that the EVMs have been rigged and all kinds of things, and they went to the court, etc. So this is not the first time that we are hearing this kind of allegations from a losing party.
I want to welcome to the program Yamini Iyer. Yamini, it's been quite a day, and as I was saying, both the states have actually just flipped on expectations, in the sense that the pollsters were calling for a very close, too close, an edge for the National Conference and the Congress in Jammu and Kashmir, but a hung assembly where they may have been dependent on the PDP, or the independents may have played a role. None of that happened. And in Haryana, of course, we've seen what happened. We've also seen Jairam Ramesh actually challenging the transparency of the electoral process, which is very unique for Indian elections. It doesn't usually happen that way. Chandra Sutta Dogra here, and even Yogendra Yadav before that, Jaggi, everybody's been making the same point, Sandeep, that in the end, the silent voter saw too much domination in a very visible Jat leadership, both in terms of the Huda family, as well as them sort of representing this one very assertive, even aggressive community, and that, boomerang for the Congress. How do you read both states, Yamini?
Barkha, I can't claim to have any more knowledge than anybody else. I think that where the sort of broad public discourse was going in terms of the election, the voter has really thrown up a very, very, very different result in Haryana in particular. And I think, in hindsight, there are many ways in which this has been interpreted. I think there are two big questions that we need to ask of how elections are being understood, interpreted, which political parties themselves need to be doing. Because my own sense is that not only have all of us as observers, analysts, commentators, people who are excited and engaged with elections and the democratic process are asking, even political parties interpreted this election quite differently. I think the BJP was not expecting the kind of victory it received. The Congress was expecting, of course, that this would be a complete landslide. I think there is the reality is that there is a deep social churning that is underway in India, and lots of expected understandings of the way different social forces play together, consolidate on some occasions in favor of the BJP versus Congress, consolidate around caste, consolidate around Hindutva, consolidate around agrarian versus non-agrarian, consolidate around rural versus urban, are all up for grabs. And the voter has different ways in which it is interpreting and presenting its perspective to political parties. And I think, but the two broad lessons that are worth recognizing, there was a general assumption that, or in some quarters, that this the post the general elections, that there has been a kind of pulling back of the Modi juggernaut, pulling back of the Hindutva juggernaut. The fourth party system is resilient, it's here to stay, and it needs to be better understood and engaged with better. There was a lot of talk about the RSS-BJP relationship, the role of the RSS as very core to mobilization for elections is once again visible for everybody to see. Lots of interpretations about how that relationship unfolds, what over interpretations of Mohan Bhagwat's speeches often in the aftermath of the 2024 general election, and even a few days ago. I think it's a much more complex relationship. It's a relationship of dependency. It has its own rhythm and its own way of working. It's here to stay. And any other political party in all its strategizing has to understand and recognize that. For the Congress, hubris has always been its challenge. Inner party disorganization has always been its challenge. We have often said in recent times that you can see this visibly even in the BJP. But there's another issue, which is that the emergence of the Congress under Rahul Gandhi over the general elections and his kind of, in a sense, coming out as a leader with credibility, leader with legitimacy, which was something that was a challenge until only about a year ago, has emerged while he has distanced himself from the hurly-burly complexity, vested interests of the party. And it is that has to be recognized. You cannot build an ideological alternative, or at least attempt to build an ideological alternative to a very deeply rooted social organization based political party without taking your organization along. And I think that is the lesson that the Congress has to learn from this. That Rahul Gandhi's leadership is attempting to articulate an ideology. We can argue whether that is a right or wrong one, but it's attempting to articulate an ideological alternative, but it's doing so without taking the party along from the grassroots worker upwards. I don't think that many of the critical issues that were raised, whether it is Agnipath, whether it is the women's issue, whether it is the farmers' issue, are issues that don't exist on the ground. How the voter chooses to respond to it is the issue. And the last thing I'll say on this is, I think it's now a good opportunity for the BJP, given the Haryana victory, to perhaps try and at least reopen a sensible conversation with farmers on the issue of the agrarian. Agrarian distress is real. The farm laws were not the right answer to a complicated problem, both in terms of the ways in which they were presented and its design. Perhaps now we can have a serious dialogue between farmers and government to try over the next few years to arrive at a serious response to what is a deep crisis.
You've given us a number of interesting points that I want our panelists to respond to. Amita Chakrabarti of the Congress is also joining us, but I want to bring in Jaggi in first. Yamini made a number of interesting points, but I'm glad she spoke about that RSS-BJP relationship, because for the last few months, the sort of supposition has been that Mr. Bhagwat's comments on, Superman, human beings who think of themselves as God, the kind of acrimony we saw in the campaign, these were all drawing of red lines for Mr. Modi. And I think Yamini's point of over-interpretation is actually well taken, while also acknowledging that for the BJP, that kind of statement that we saw from JP Nadda, that the BJP today doesn't need the RSS, that is not true either. So both sides, those looking to over-interpret and looking for tension in the family, but also the Nadda type of statement, we are now bigger than the RSS, both have learned lessons, Jaggi. So I just want you to respond to what you heard Yamini say.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the fact is both of them are tied at the hip. Now, regardless, overall, in terms of power structure, the political party obviously wields more power because it has a lot of resources at its command. But at the grassroots level, it is the social organization that actually can make the kind of deep last mile connect when it is required. So both of them need each other. One to give them, the RSS gets political cover from the BJP when it exists in government, and the BJP benefits from the RSS's deeper roots in society in some ways. So I think for either of them to think that they can exist without the other is stupid. I think they have to be acknowledging that they are part of the same thing, though they may do different things at different times. Also remember, in the first half of Mr. Modi's tenure, the relationship between Bhagwat and Modi was very good. It was only towards the second half, where the Modi image became larger, much larger than life, though it was always larger than life for some time. But it became much larger than life, and I think people below him started saying that, okay, maybe we don't need the sun so much. And also the party was expanding and becoming the new Congress, bringing in new forces that were not aligned with the Hindutva philosophy. You have so many things like that. So I think now it's a wake-up call for both of them. They accept that the BJP cannot exist without its basic Hindutva card. It can't just become a broad tent like the Congress and expect to succeed. I mean, we saw that in the last election.
Yeah, Meeta, just let's get a comment from you. The point Yamini was also making was about the Congress hubris. Also, Chandar was interpreting Haryana to say that, too much sort of visible assertion by one caste community, by one family, meaning the Hudas. Kumari Selja has given a very angry remark saying, "Khoon pasina logon ka laga hai, is chunav mein jawab dena hoga, sawal uthane honge." What's your take on Haryana? And also in Jammu, the Congress has picked up only one seat, and Omar Abdullah had said on record to me and to others that he didn't think the Congress had pulled its weight in Jammu and Kashmir.
Okay, good evening to all your viewers, Barkha, and good evening to all the co-panelists as well. Now, regarding Haryana first, all our internal survey reports and even the opinion polls that were conducted by a large number of agencies who have nothing to do with the Congress party, but definitely not in our payrolls, were all suggesting, including the exit polls, that there is a Congress wave and we are going to get a majority and we're going to form the government on our own. The results come as a rude surprise, rude shock to us, I'll be honest. And yes, we need to have a closer look and analyze the data and understand whether there was a reverse caste consolidation that happened against the Jat community. And it is possible that it happened that way. And but I think it goes beyond that. We have improved on our earlier vote percentage. We have tried to give a contest in Haryana. But yes, are we surprised with these results? We are absolutely surprised. And we do need to have a very closer look and introspect what really went wrong. Because we could feel a very strong sense of anti-incumbency. And we need to understand as how the independents and the others performed and whether they cut away, whether the anti-BJP vote got split in Haryana with.
And do you regret not having had the alliance with the Aam Aadmi Party in Haryana? Though Chandar was saying it wouldn't have made much of a difference. But do you think the party needs to relook that? Because, the comments are being made also about how Delhi is the next. There's Maharashtra, yes, but there's also Delhi pretty soon. And these are all kind of neighboring states.
So in Haryana, Aam Aadmi Party did not have that amount of organizational presence. So at that point in time, it's very easy now to look at the results and make comments. But at that point in time, it seemed like a pragmatic decision taken by the Congress state leadership. AICC, in all its wisdom, had asked the state leadership to look at all possible alliance formation within the India bloc. But that did not happen because there was an expectation of the number of seats that we were not willing to provide to Aam Aadmi Party. And the discussion did start, but it did not have a fruitful result. So I think I'll stick to that because obviously it was done in a very pragmatic manner.
Sure.
Now that we look back, I think we have to look more than the alliance formation. Yes, we are very happy with the way we have got the numbers in J&K because it was predicted to be a very close contest. BJP was supposedly going to be the largest party, and with the help of independents from the valley, they were even claiming at one point that they would be in a position to form the government. That's not going to happen. And the fact that we could have a free and fair poll there, an election there after all that happened in 2019 seems to be a welcome move. Now we are going to focus on building a common minimum program between NC and Congress so that we can give the governance to people of JNK.
I just want to read out a very interesting statement, Sandeep. I'm sure you'll want to respond to this as well. Omar Abdullah's latest statement, it's the responsibility of the National Conference CPM Congress Alliance. Please remember there's a CPM MLA, which is Mohammad Yusuf Taregami, to stand up to the expectations of the people and work for their welfare. It has now become essential for us to build relations with the center so that we can solve the problems of Jammu and Kashmir. This is a very important, of course, he has to. It's a union territory waiting for restoration of statehood. But Yamini, you wanted to come in, then I will have to give it to Sandeep because I know he has to leave. Yamini, do go ahead. Yamini.
Just very quickly, I think this raises absolutely, you can't be Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir now as a union territory without working with the center. This is an important statement in that it suggests consensus building rather than the Delhi-like kind of constant acrimony. But it raises a very important question about what is the center's position. That we've had free and fair elections is a very important first step. But what is the story for statehood? Are we going to end up in a log jam, in which case this whole process will be a sham? So it needs to, this, I think what the center says is even more important than what Omar Abdullah says at this point.
Yes, and Sandeep, I want to bring you in. This is very interesting because, you know, when I met Omar, he was saying that, oh, the one thing the center wants is anybody to be chief minister but me. He was convinced of that. He didn't even want to contest these elections. Then he contested from 2 seats. Now he's talking about how it's going to be essential that in order to meet the expectations of the people, they have to find a working relationship with the center. Yamini raises the pertinent point. Does the center want to work with him? Is this going to go the way of the Kejriwal-BJP relationship? Or is this going to be a different relationship? And can India afford the Kejriwal-BJP relationship in Jammu and Kashmir?
First of all, you know, taking from where Yamini said, I think, Barkha, we missed, you quoted the Prime Minister. Prime Minister also sent out a very positive message towards NC. And in his statement...
No, I read it out.
I think that's what I'm saying. You said, you read it out. So there was also a kind of a positive, I wouldn't call it an olive branch, but there was some kind of positive gesture, and conspicuously he didn't mention the Congress, he mentioned only the NC. And I am, to some extent, I'm happy that Omar has at least included Congress in his statement of when talking of the front, because so far hearing all Congress spokespersons, you know, I was reminded, I'm not good at Hindi. I was going to talk about that. What is that? Begani Shadi mein type comment. Congress making so many comments about the thing. Meeta will probably understand the Bengali equivalent of Gai Manana Apni Modol. So Congress trying to speak on behalf of the alliance is a bit, you know, amusing over there. So I think between Omar and center, unless there is some other pressure, I expect the relationship not to be like Kejriwal. Not that it's going to be hunky-dory or it's going to be a honeymoon, but it is not going to be as dysfunctional as this. And Congress will actually have a problem. You know, in J&K, they talked about this Article 370 and all the rest, Bahar ka aadmi rule kar raha hai, etc. Now they will not be able to play any of those cards. BJP is ultimately what was 370 gambit. It was not for J&K, it was for rest of India. And if Congress talks about any of that, Congress is going to walk into a trap in all the other states. So Congress actually is in a pretty, you know, what should I say, unenviable position as far as Jammu is concerned. It can make whatever it wants to about 7 seats and, you know, against NC's whatever number of seats and claim to be an equal partner top of minimum program, but it's essentially Omar Abdullah who is going to call the shots. And I think Omar would be far more mature and circumspect than if, say, for example, his dad was, and certainly a Mehbooba Mufti. She was
though ironically, Mehbooba Mufti, one of the prices she's paying is the accusation that she brought the BJP, you know, into government in J&K. So it's very interesting and ironic. I'm just going to play out that statement by Omar Abdullah, and then literally we have, you know, a minute each for anyone who wants to speak. Let's take a look at, Sandeep, I know you have to leave. Thank you so much. I'll just play out Omar Abdullah's statement. Take a look.
ये हमारी जिम्मेदारी बनती है, नेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस, कांग्रेस, सीपीएम, हमें लोगों का ताउन हासिल हुआ है. अब हमारी जिम्मेदारी बनती है कि हम लोगों के लिए जो है काम करें और जम्मू कश्मीर को इस दलदल से निकालें. हमारे लिए अब ज़रूरी ये बन जाता है कि मरकज़ के साथ एक रिश्ता बनाएं, एक रास्ता कायम करें, ताकि जम्मू कश्मीर के जो मुश्किलात हैं, मुतालबे हैं, परेशानियां जो हैं, उनको हम हल करना शुरू करें.
ये भी कह सकते हैं कि जो उमर अब्दुल्ला का इस वक्त बिहेवियर था, जो एक ट्यून था बात करने का लोगों के दिल के साथ, कि भैया पिछली बार अगर कुछ प्लस माइनस हुआ है, कोई गलती हुई है, अजाला हम करेंगे. जो मेन 370 था.
मैं इस सवाल का जवाब दे नहीं सकता ना. इस सवाल का जवाब तो आपको वोटरों से लेना होगा. तो सिर्फ यही कह सकता हूँ कि मुझे इस बात का एहसास है कि हमें शायद ऐसे लोगों से भी वोट हासिल हुए हैं जिन्होंने ज़िंदगी में कभी वोट डाला नहीं होगा, और अब हमारी जिम्मेदारी बनती है कि हम इन लोगों को जो है ये अपने काम के जरिए दिखाएं कि उनका वोट जाया नहीं हुआ और उन्होंने वोट दिया तो सही किया।
बीजेपी ने भी की बात की है।
All right, Jaggi, I think before I give Yamini the closing word, how do you see the Centre-National Conference relationship shaping up?
I don't think it will be as acrimonious as the one between AAP and BJP, because AAP had always had national ambitions. In this case, National Conference will never have ambitions beyond Jammu and Kashmir. So BJP does not necessarily see it as an antagonistic anywhere else. The second thing is the BJP has the statehood card to bargain with. So Omar Abdullah has already shifted the goalpost, and they are not going to make a big fuss over 370. I mean, they may have some general statements to that effect, that it was not done in the right way, this, that, all that stuff. But basically, they're focusing on this thing. The BJP's primary interest in J&K will be to make sure that the security situation does not get worse under a regional leadership. That is their only thing. As long as they get there, I think within the next year, I am sure statehood will be there in Jammu and Kashmir.
Absolutely. I think that's a perceptive point, that statehood becomes the focus. It takes the heat off the 370 debate, while rhetorically there may continue to be references to it. Yamini Iyer, I'll give you the closing word. The big takeaway from both states for you.
The big takeaway from me from Jammu and Kashmir is that this is now an opportunity to arrive at some form of normalization and restoration of freedoms and dignities, particularly of the people of Kashmir. Both sides seem to have made some conciliatory step forward. The restoration of statehood should be done immediately and with normalization of freedoms. On Haryana, I think there's a lot to be learned for those who do exit polls. There's a lot to be learned for political parties. On trying to understand the complexities of the grassroots and the shifting nature of India. There is something to be said for us not to jump to too many conclusions about BJP and RSS. That to me is the most important thing that should be learned. A deep ideological project has deep social organization. Congress needs to remember that as it's trying to build an alternative ideological narrative to that of the BJP, RSS, and the Hindutva juggernaut. Without deep social organization, ideological hegemony can never be achieved.
I think that's an excellent point, and I think I couldn't agree with you more. That you can have whatever ideological positioning you want, from caste census to social justice, but you need a mechanism, a vehicle to deliver that, and you need effective management. Someone at the steering wheel of that vehicle. If as you described Rahul Gandhi to be in some ways the ideologue in chief of the counter project to the BJP and the RSS's own ideological moorings, we leave it there. To Yamini Iyer, to R. Jagannathan, to Chandrasutha Dogra, to Meeta earlier, to Sandeep Ghosh, and to our audience, thank you for watching. It's been a long day. We let you all get some rest and recreation that is beyond politics, hopefully. Take care, have a great evening, and see you soon. It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story.